Hello everyone. Firstly, I just want to apologise for how it's taken me so long to record any long form content on my YouTube. I feel like I've blinked and suddenly people are following me, which is crazy, and I feel like I owe it to you to create some content. So here it is. So I thought we'd start off from the beginning for all the people who are new, who follow me, who don't really know much about me. So I thought I would talk you through my entire fitness story from the beginning. I know that a lot of you have come here from my transformation where I lost over 10 kilograms recently, but I feel like in order to understand the context of that transformation, it's kind of important to understand my story before that. So to start everything off, I'm going to take it right back to childhood. And I had a lovely childhood. I was always outside, always playing with my friends, climbing trees, making up crap dance routines in the woods. And I was also blessed enough to do horse riding as well. So I was always outdoors, mucking out the stables, riding the horses throughout the winter, throughout the summer, and I just absolutely loved it. Anyone who's ever had horses knows how much energy and physical exertion it takes to look after them, even if you're not riding or jumping or whatever you're doing. Even just the act of looking after them, like carrying bales of hay, carrying big water buckets, it keeps you really fit. And so growing up, I could literally eat whatever I wanted. I would have 3 portions of dinner and not think twice about it. I was always rake thin. I was always so happy, and yeah, I absolutely loved my childhood. However, whenever we went to school, things started to get a little bit stickier. So I come from a really sporty family. My dad was an athlete. There's a lot of athletes in my family. However, that gene didn't really pass down to me. I was never naturally very good at sports. I was never picked for any teams. I was always just kind of slightly above average with most things that I've done, but particularly with sports. And I just was never competitive. Like, I was never interested in team sports. I just wanted to go out, and I was that weird pony girl basically who just wanted to hang out with horses all day. Also, as I approached high school, I cared more about being popular than extracurricular activities. And so while I was a teenager, I was too cool to be on the running team, too cool to be enjoying PE. And so I tried my best to avoid it. And as I went to college, actually, at the age of 16, I stopped sports entirely, stopped horse riding, and that's kind of when my issues with food started. So at the age of around 16, I gained a little bit of weight. Bear in mind, I was always rake thin. I was never big. I grew boobs. I became a bit curvier, and I just remember thinking to myself, okay, this is my time. This is when I have to diet. I just always thought to myself that women at some point in their life have to diet, and this was my time. And that actually makes me feel really sad now, because I know so many other girls growing up, it was kind of drilled into them that we all have to diet at some point. We all have to really care about how we look to the point where it's our identity. And I think that, coupled with low self-esteem, kind of figuring out who I was, like I went to a college that was quite liberal, and I felt like I just didn't have an identity. I started dyeing my hair green and orange, and I had a septum piercing at one point, which is just insane when I look at myself now. I had piercings all over. And I was just kind of trying to figure out who I was, and I think it was just a big combination that kind of contributed to me seeking control. And the way that I sought control was through food and through how I looked. And so I remember going on my first diet, and I lost a lot of weight very rapidly. And I think it was down to just poor education about nutrition. I thought a diet was just halve all of your food. So I was eating tiny portions, I was ravenous, and I just thought that this is how it was meant to be. I wasn't exercising, I wasn't prioritising health. I didn't even really know what that meant at that time. And I just saw that the scales went down, and yeah, I was so chuffed for myself. However, when you lose weight and restrict yourself through unhealthy means, typically what happens is you get really, really hungry, and I was ravenous and I started binge eating, and I literally remember that I physically couldn't control myself around food. Like, as soon as I was given the green light to eat, I just could not stop, to the point where my stomach I would look like 6 months pregnant. I'd be so uncomfortable, I couldn't sleep. And that unfortunately led me to try purging, and I realised that I thought at the time, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, because I can eat what I want and just get rid of it immediately. Little did I know that there obviously are a lot of health implications that come from that, and I just completely lost control. So from about the age of 16 to about 21, it was just a blur cycle of binging, purging, restricting, feeling miserable, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like I couldn't socialise. And yeah, I look back at that period of my life and I'm just like, wow, that was a very dark time. So I won't dwell on that too much, but I think it's just important context. And I remember just thinking, like, getting into my 20s and just thinking, like, I literally can't live like this. Like, I can't see myself getting into my 30s, which I'm in now, into my 40s, having kids, and I can't control myself around food. I can't, and it just felt so embarrassing. So I just thought to myself, enough is enough. Like, I'm fed up of living like this. And I always felt to myself, like, I know I have so much potential. I know that there's a vision of who I want to be, who is very close to how I am now, which is like, and I knew that I could achieve that, but I knew I couldn't with the way that I was eating and with my mental health at the time. So I literally dedicated myself to recovery, and that meant that I had to stop purging, which meant I gained a lot of weight very rapidly. And this was probably the most uncomfortable I've ever felt in my body, and probably the most miserable time ever, because I was so swollen. Like, I don't know scientifically what was going on, but I just remember feeling like I was just full of water, and my face was massive, like everything just felt huge. And it took about a year of me trying to figure out what my hunger signals were, and just reconnecting to my body, because for so many years I was just completely the other way. And I'm so glad that I did that, although as hard as it was, because it really helped me connect with my body and learn when I was hungry, when I was full, and it really kind of kick-started all of this now. So as I recovered and I found myself in a really good place mentally, it was time physically to get myself healthy and feeling really good in my skin. So I started exercising. So I think I was, I don't know, maybe like 23, 24, and I kind of dabbled, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I would just go to the gym, and this is so funny now because I hate running. Like, if you see me running, someone is chasing me. Like, I don't do it off my own back. But at this time, I didn't really know what else to do. And so I used to go to the gym and run for 30 minutes on the treadmill, like every single day. And it was torture and I hated it. But I thought that that's just what exercise was. I thought that you weren't allowed to enjoy it, which is crazy because now I absolutely love it. But I went through my cardio bunny phase, and then I remember at the time was kind of when all the Instagram fitness girlies started doing their thing, and I loved them, and I would watch their videos and their workouts. And this was the time when they'd do like 6-week guides, the PDFs, And I know that a lot of Instagram fitness people get a lot of stick, but I learnt so much from them, and I am so grateful to them, because I would literally be in the gym. I would go in, you know, they have like, it's not a women's section, but they call it a women's section, where it's like a quieter part of the gym with basically no equipment in there. So I would go in there and I would have my little PDF up and I would YouTube the exercises, and that's how I kind of learn a little bit more about weight training, about how to use machines. Made a lot of mistakes, like there are just examples like me getting stuck under the Smith machine because I used it backwards. I did a burpee once and broke the ceiling, and a load of white dust fell on me in front of people who just completely ignored it, which I'm grateful for. And yeah, and that's kind of how I got introduced to weights. It's worth also mentioning that I actually started Pilates before weights. So I used to go to a weekly mat class, which I loved. And I mean, the reason why I stopped was basically it was too expensive. So I kind of would do Pilates when I could afford to go. But that was always my love, and the only exercise that I've really always enjoyed doing. So the more that I weight trained, the more that I started to see progress, and I would also try my best with my nutrition, trying not to be as restrictive this time. And it took a good while, but I started to see progress. I started to see ab definition, which I never had before. I started to feel better. I had more energy. I just felt stronger in myself physically, but most importantly, mentally. Like, I grew up having zero confidence. Like, if you speak to anyone who I went to school with, they always say like, oh, you were just so quiet. I was the one who wouldn't take their blazer off in the summer and my armpit sweat would literally be down to my hip, because I was just so shy and just like so uncomfortable in my skin. And exercise really just gave me confidence. Even just talking to a camera now, I would never have been able to do that. So, and I do believe that health and exercise and good nutrition has helped me with that, and yeah, I'm so grateful for that. So when I started to see progress, I started my Instagram account, which was really nerve-wracking, but it was always something that like I knew that was creative. I wanted to have an account where I could share things that I was passionate about, and I discovered that actually health and fitness and well-being is something I'm really passionate about. And so I started my Instagram account, grew it, although that was never like the core intention. The core intention was just I loved being creative, and I started posting my workouts, which were like the form on some of them, I can't even, like, it just, no. But you have to start somewhere. And so I started my Instagram account. It was actually through lockdown, and was posting every day. And then whenever lockdown lifted, I decided, oh no, actually through lockdown, I qualified as a PT. And after lockdown, I got a job in a gym. And the aim was never to stay in a gym, like that was never something I saw myself doing long term. But I think it was important to me to learn as much as I could about fitness, because I knew that I wanted it to be my career. And when I worked as a PT in a gym, I've got so many stories about that, but I'll save that for another day. I started to get really into weight training. I think because everyone around me was, and everyone was doing a bodybuilding split, and so that's what I started to do. And I was taking creatine. I gained quite a bit of muscle. I felt really strong, but I also felt that other areas of my life were kind of neglected whenever I reflect back on it. So for example, mobility, flexibility, I'd be sore every single day. Whereas now I work out to feel better rather than to feel, I don't know, some people like that, but kind of just didn't work for me. And also at this time, this was when the BBL trend I hate that women's bodies are trends, but that was what was in. And so I felt immense pressure to grow a bum, and I'm not naturally someone with a bum. I would love one, but it's just, I mean, you have to work with what, I was going to say my mama gave me, but what the world has given you. So I do that now, but at the time I was very concerned about growing a huge bum, and it was enormous effort, and I would have to eat so much and train so hard, and yeah, it was just struggle city. And over time, I actually, while I worked as a PT, I kind of fell into a depressive rut for reasons I won't go into, but I was miserable in my life basically. And at this time I was overeating, and I kind of used it as an emotional coping mechanism. So the unhealthy habits that I'd worked so hard to undo, I fell back into because, yeah, I guess I was just miserable and I wanted something to make me feel better, and of course it didn't. So this was not last year but the year before. I had this depressive rut and I literally stopped working out. I was eating McDonald's sometimes like 3 times a day. I didn't cook for myself. I was in bed all the time. I didn't want to go to work. Like, I was just in bad shape, and I gained about 10 kilograms like really rapidly, and my face was so puffy. And this is where the transformation has come from. So the one that you might see on my shorts or my TikTok, and that's what happened basically, was I found myself in a really bad place, and I just started binging again. And I was really disappointed in myself because all of the previous work I'd done, I just felt like I'd kind of undone it and I was back to square one, which wasn't true, but that's how I felt at the time. And it came to January and I was just like, I can't do this. I cannot live my life like this. I refuse to wake up every day feeling not as good as I could, feeling less than, feeling uncomfortable in my skin, feeling exhausted when I walk up the stairs. Like I can't. And so I drew a line and I just said, right, Laura, we're going to start off small. You know what to do, you've done it before. And I just started focusing on healthy, good, nutritious foods. I didn't calorie count, but because I was binging, me eating normally made me lose weight quite easily. And yeah, I just focused on health. I focused on moving my body. And this time around, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna move my body in a way that I want to. So rather than a bodybuilding split, rather than being a cardio bunny, I'm gonna mix it. I love walking, I love Pilates. I do enjoy weight training, but not super heavy. And so I just did what felt natural and comfortable to me. And as a result, I feel like my socials have grown, but as a result of being authentic to myself. And for that, I'm very proud. And I'm now at a place where I've lost the weight. I feel so good. Like I've come off the pill as well, and my skin's so good. I look better in my 30s than I did in my 20s. And now I'm so blessed because my job, I could not pick a more perfect dream job for me. My job is to help women who feel as stuck as I did get out of that rut and feel their best, look after their health, look their best. And I literally wake up every day and I'm like I love it. I love my life. And this is, I've said this before, but I feel like I created an alter ego of myself so that I could become this version of myself that I really wanted to be, but I felt was so out of reach. And so the fact that I've been able to do that, make it my job and help other women do the same is just, it just fills me with so much joy. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. This is gonna be a lot longer than I thought it was, but I just spoke from the heart and it all spilled out. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Please subscribe and comment below any more videos that you want from me. I'm going to try my best to post a video once a week. Subscribe. I can't remember if I said to do that already, but yeah, thank you so much. Love ya.